This is the Pool Together Community Podcast. Pool Together is the world's #1 no-loss prize savings account, and you can visit PoolTogether.com to deposit. You're listening to the Pool Together Community Podcast. I'm your host, Millie Yearly, a.k.a. Hot Mike, a.k.a. Tim, and I am here with Andy from Infinity Keys. Everybody just welcome Andy. Let's go. Yep.
Oh, thank you, everyone. No. Stop. No, that's enough. All right, thank you.
Hey, so we met a while back, and we had a great meeting. It was very cool. We were talking about the books in your bookshelf and just going every which way as you do when you have ADD like your boy. And then now you're on the podcast. So thanks for being here. And I just want to start off with the classic question. How'd you even get here?
Oh man.
How'd you get into crypto, here being crypto? Because we don't need to go, life story, unless you want, whatever you want.
Well, it's part of my life story. And so I'm good at telling it, and it's just a little brief, so don't worry, but it's fun. So awesome to be here. Thank you so much. It was super fun to talk to you. We talked books, and I think you mentioned the 3-body problem. And so I got it, and I'm reading it right now. So just as a heads up.
Whoa! Recommendation accepted.
And it's fantastic. It's blowing my mind. It's just awesome. Anyways, how I got here, I was an academic before I got into crypto. So I did my PhD in media studies. I wanted to study video games. And so when I was getting my master's, I got a master's degree because I didn't want to get a job. And then once I was getting my master's degree, I actually did research, and you could do research into video games and effects and behaviors. And so I just kept doing that because that was cool and fun. And I've been a gamer for a really long time. And so I got a PhD in it, and then I became a professor in it. And I was a researcher and a professor and a teacher of video games and digital media for a number of years. And when you do that for a while, they give you tenure if you do a good enough job, which apparently I did. And then when you get tenure, you can study whatever you want. That's really what tenure is it's permission to say, okay, you've done enough. Now you are a thinker in the world. You can go do riskier things. So I said, well, what's risky? I'll look into virtual reality. And then not that interesting. It was okay. It was exciting, but not that exciting. I'll look into big data. Not quite for me. What's this Bitcoin and crypto thing? And that happened to be right at the beginning of 2017. And so all the podcasts were spinning up and all the communities. And of course, the price run up and CryptoKitties and all that happened then. And so I was just exploring what that was at the right time, and had an opportunity after that to leave academia and join a startup that wanted to do crypto play. And so I joined the crypto industry, and as a researcher and as a writer and in marketing, and kind of didn't look back. And then 2020 hit, and I worked for I started doing freelancing for Status, who's like one of the earliest ICOs, a super awesome spot project. They're still building a crazy amount in the space. And then eventually I worked for Chainlink Labs, and I did that for 2020. That's when I learned about PoolTogether. I actually learned about PoolTogether with Status, because for Status, what I did is they had this mobile app, they still do, and you could do DeFi on it. It had a wallet, and so you could do DeFi on it. And so I would write about how to do DeFi on the Status mobile app, and PoolTogether was one of those projects that just totally blew my mind and was like, this is why crypto. This is why composability. I loved it, and I still love it very much. But then, I worked for Chainlink for a year and a half or so. I did marketing, writing for them. I did my own podcast, video series, event hosting, all this sort of talky thing, because I'm at least okay about talking about complicated things in ways that people like to listen to. I don't know if it helps them understand, but they at least like to listen to it sometimes. So yeah, that was kind of my journey. And then now, about a year ago, I founded Infinity Keys. While I was working for Chainlink, I had always had this idea of a particular kind of game I wanted in the world. And I've had this idea for a really long time, far before crypto. And when I saw games that were coming out in the space, and I saw how people were using composability and metaverses and all those sorts of things, the pieces started to fit together. And so we could actually make the vision of what Infinity Keys is. And so anyways, the long story short is I started it, and I got a team together, and we raised a little bit of money and have built an MVP for that. And we continue to build it, and it's super exciting. That's kind of my backstory. A few more things people might want to know about me. I'm like a full-on dad. I'm like socks and sandals, New Balance at the grill. I live, I've got a minivan. I love it. I'm living that life. So in crypto, you never know who you're dealing with. Is it, Miami guy partying? Is it, Eastern European guy who may have shady ties to, Russian mafia? No, I'm just like a straight up suburban dad in the Midwest. Just so you know who I am.
That's exactly what a shady someone tied to the mafia would say. It's a
It
perfect
is.
cover.
It's a great cover.
Now, are you a dad, an actual dad? I'm
Yeah.
a cat dad. Oh, okay, okay. So you are a dad. Like you're not just like fronting. It's not just like a look. You're not doing like normcore. No, you
No, no.
are.
I
You
got
are. You embody. Yes.
Yeah, I got 3 kids. We got 3 cats. We got like,
Whoa.
the whole thing. I go to take kids to Taekwondo. We do all the stuff. Yeah, it's all
So
real.
why taekwondo? Why taekwondo and not BJJ or karate or I took Jeet Kune Do. See, this is where we're going. I feel the freedom to ask this question.
Jeet Kune Do, so Bruce Lee would tell you this. It doesn't matter where you start on martial arts mountain. Like when you go up the mountain, they all become the same thing. And so for us in particular, I've studied martial arts for a lot of years, and I mostly did soft style Chinese stuff. But we wanted to get the kids active, and it's not about teaching them proper kung fu. They just need some exercise and a place to go where that instills confidence. And so for the first couple years of martial arts training, like just throw some punches and kicks and learn how to listen to an instructor. Like that's the important stuff you learn. So why Taekwondo? Because it's near my house and it's nice and it's really fun. And I do it with them. Like I started at a white belt and it's super fun to do all this really beginner stuff. We have belt testing coming up next week. We're all testing for our yellow belts. So, it's just fun, man.
Nice. Nice. Wing Chun. Is that what you were doing when you're talking about soft style kung fu?
No, so I did mostly Tai Chi, but also
okay. Yeah. Nice.
Bagua. So there's like Bagua Tai Chi, and then Xingyi was just a little harder, but that trio, Wing Chun comes out of those. So mostly I did Tai Chi and Bagua.
Yeah. Nice. Nice. Okay. So back to our story crosses a little bit where Status was my first really getting it moment for crypto, where I was like, oh, this is really cool because I could now explore a universe of dApps and I could look at like DAOs. I remember people like start your own DAO kind of thing, services and stuff. And Status was my way into that. And then in 2021, my friend Leighton, who I know from outside of crypto, just life in New York City, he came up to me and he was like, hey man, you should get back into crypto because of airdrops. Or I didn't know about airdrops. And I had some Uniswap airdrops and I had kind of like a little ENS airdrop from Status and all of that. So it was really cool to like,
Yeah.
And then from that moment, from the airdrop moment, I was fully in. And then also, this is not really crossover, but you gave up tenure, bruh.
Oh,
you gave
yeah.
up. That's not a very dad thing to do. To give up tenure.
No, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit of a rock and roll dad. There's times in your life where you see the path, and sometimes like the path is not straightforward and it's a little bit rocky, but like it was so obvious that like this is a new innovation in society. What I studied, my discipline was new media innovations and how does that affect society and individual people and how do they interact with that. So this was like core to what I studied. And here's this opportunity where there was just not enough people. It was 2019 and people were leaving. That there was not enough people in crypto and I could join it. And I'm insanely qualified and like I know what it means. And so the path was obvious, even though it didn't seem obvious. And I remember I talked to my provost and he was like, we can't fire you when I was leaving. And I was like, yeah, but this is the right way to go. And it was obviously the right decision. Like it's something I was made to do and meant for. So, but yeah, sometimes you take a risk.
Yeah, one of my best friends is like struggling with that right now. He doesn't have tenure, but he's he just landed a big grant, about to get it, that sort of thing. But he's kind of feeling the itch to like, I guess maybe in academia you're more on the sidelines sometimes, like you're kind of like observing and like pontificating and theorizing where but maybe that's not true. I mean, you do a lot of research too, but
it depends,
so you got
depends
into
on
it.
where you are, but
that's right.
But now being on both sides, there's a massive difference between the doing and the studying, and both are really important. And there is value in studying, and especially in knowing how to study something and having that as a discipline. Like we need that as a social thing. Is like, how do we know things? Like, what is our basic science is one of the main ways. And so to have that process is incredibly important, and to be able to explain that process and verify that process and teach that process, so that we're not just a complete bunch of morons accepting whatever experts say all the time, but rather that we have a process. That's super important. But it's not
Yeah.
fun. Like for me, it's kind of boring
Yeah. Right.
also. And I'm not that great at it. I was okay at it, but like I'm good at new ideas and like trying crazy stuff. And so this was a much better path for me.
Okay, so now you're in crypto, but now there's also an AI boom and a crypto bear market. So, do you feel like you made the right choice, or are you tempted to go to the AI side of things, like so many of our friends have?
Well, it never occurred to me to turn Infinity Keys into an AI startup. But as soon as April happened, and I realized I've been using Midjourney and ChatGPT for like to build puzzles. Like we build games basically, and I'd been using them. It was just like, oh, this is how we can scale this. Because so Infinity Keys is gaming infrastructure for users to create missions. Right now, we create those missions. It's my team, but we're building like creator tools. So you show up and you build a mission. But like teaching people how to make games is really hard. And like, okay, bring your own art. Oh, well, now you got to get an artist, and now you got to it's this whole thing. Well, AI, what it does is it lets people do these things, these creative tasks quickly and at quality and at speed, so that we can make even more of these. So I'm very committed to Web3 because of permissionlessness and open systems, but AI happens to be a really useful tool for what I want to do. So it's not a full pivot, but we are for sure using it every day.
That's really cool. There's this NFT platform that was called Lore, or that is called Lore, probably still exists, but there's another thing called Lore, which is Prism, which is group buying NFTs. But I remember like it's kind of like that. I don't know what the game is where like one person writes a line of a story and then and then you pass it on, and the next person writes the second line, but then folds the previous line back. So then you only see the line. You know what I'm saying? Like you only see the line of the most active part, and you write, and then you see how the story unfolds because you only have the context of the line. And so there's this NFT project where you would do that, and the best ones would get like a mid-journey art applied to their
Cool.
NFT. Like it would refresh the metadata and the stories that the curators liked or whatever. So I love that. I love that. Is that so? Infinity Keys, is that where you're going right now? In my mind, it's like quests, right? It's like the gamification of Web3, and the activities you take and the things that you can do. But you're saying you want user generated that. Yeah.
Oh,
why not just give me the whole spiel on give me the whole pitch on Infinity Keys and where you're going.
If you've played any RPG, it'll give you a quest. If you can hear piano, there's my kids playing in the background, by the way. But you play any RPG and you open up your quest log, and there's a quest, and you go and you find a quest giver, and they say, here's your objective, here's what you got to do. And that's kind of how you get navigation through the game to engage in the play that is the world in the game. That's Infinity Keys, except instead of a quest giver and a single studio giving you a mission, it is whoever. Tim, you show up and you want to make a quest for PoolTogether people, you do it. Somebody else does. I see Darb in the audience decides, hey, I want to make a Chainlink one because I'm a Link Marine. Let's go. You can make it about Chainlink. You're excited about Tears of the Kingdom. That's what I'm playing right now is Zelda. And you just want to get excited and do a little trivia puzzle about Tears of the Kingdom. You can come and do that. That's the vision. That's the idea. Is it doesn't even have to be Web3. It doesn't have to be crypto. It's people creating missions and quests, whether they're in the real world, you go to a location, whether it's, solving a puzzle that's right on the Infinity Key site, whether it's, finding something hidden in a book or playing something in another game, calling an API, or going and collecting an NFT item out of Decentraland. That's the big vision, is once you get people building their own, then not only can you make a quest that, starts somebody at point A and they end up at point C, but you can also cross that quest over with somebody else's quest. And you can make somebody else's quest a requirement in step 2 of your quest. And now we've got these linkages because of composable assets and composable systems that let people build these webs of quests that who knows where they go. Right. Part of what people love about crypto is the rabbit hole. Like, oh, things can all go together and you can connect, and I get an airdrop over here and this and that. Well, let's just give people that system in the form of a game and let people build their own crazy webs and rabbit holes. That's the big vision of Infinity Keys. Now, right now, if you go to Infinity Keys.io, thank you for linking that in the chat. We've got a bunch of missions, a bunch of quests, a lot of which are with our partners to feature their products, to feature their ideas. Because we are a startup and we're trying to be a sustainable company and business as well, and figure out what do people want to do? What do, people who want to pay to do this, what do they want people to do? Those sorts of things. So like a good example right now is the Aavegotchi portal that's on Infinity Keys. And most people in crypto have heard of Aavegotchi but haven't played. And so we set up this Aavegotchi portal with the DAO, where you go and you get an Aavegotchi to use. And it is like no money up front. If you collect any tokens, there's a tiny rake that we get because we actually couldn't turn off the fees. But you get to use an Aavegotchi, and then you can go in to the Gotchiverse and explore and find the passcode for a quest. And you have to pet your Gotchi, and you have to, do some other things there. So like that's the idea right now. So if you see Infinity Keys now, there's a lot of those partner games where you're learning about these various projects, kind of like the stuff Galaxy does and that sort of thing. But we try to have them be fun. We try to have them be riddles and puzzles because we're really building games. But all of this that you see now is in service to the greater mission of having this user-generated content of missions for wherever. And we are slowly but surely building out that infrastructure. One thing that just got launched recently is gasless. So we have gasless minting. You do a puzzle, you mint the NFT. It's an achievement. It's on Optimism, but you don't have to care. Like you got it because it's just this gasless thing for you that lives on Infinity Keys in your wallet there. So there's some really fun things that we're building out now.
Very cool. There's a lens collector. Got a couple Pepe stuff going on. Spooky Gotchi, Aavegotchi portal. Even to get into your site, I had to solve a puzzle.
Yeah, we took that away because.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say, that's a little too much friction, I would say, but I understand that's hardcore though.
We're learning a lot about users, and some people really are into it and they love it, right? When you're talking about like mass, how do you make sure you're not turning people away? The first thing you have to do in game design is make it easy for people to play. Don't make the game easy, but you have to make it easy to play. And so that's, it's UX in crypto and we're early stage. And so we still struggle with that. But we've got updates coming through. Like, I just saw screens today of like the new updates for the UX and they're so good. So, that's the process. You guys know this intimately, right? Building.
Oh, yeah.
In crypto, it's just like that.
That's too many choices.
Yeah.
Don't show us all the ways, all the places all the vaults. Just give me one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you raise money for this?
Well, there's a big opportunity for an ecosystem of projects and people that want to feature their content. So if you build a quest and you want that featured, there's a lot of opportunity there. There's also some things like sort of the way the technology works in the background. This isn't crypto. This is just how the game works is if you want somebody to pass a requirement, we call that a gate. And what can a gate be? Well, it can be a passcode. That's really easy. We just choose a word and you stick some boxes up there and that's a passcode. You can also have an NFT requirement where you have to hold a poolie, for example. Now that's not that tough. You actually just have to, put in the NFT, the contract address and the token ID, and there you go. If wallet holds this, then pass forward. That's easy. But for things like an API, well, that's a little bit more of a custom setup, right? If I want to say you can only pass this quest when during a full moon in your location, well, now I've got to go to Chainlink. I've got to go to Chainlink functions, and I kind of got to set up this API call, and I've got to do a geolocation check, and I've got to do some stuff. So for us, that's an opportunity of selling essentially premium quests. So that's how we monetize. Is like there's a business kind of on top of this where we've got this system where people can build quests, but if you want the cool stuff, then we'll charge for it. So that's how we raise money on it. And there's a bunch of places like that where we can do in-game revenue, wearables and stuff like that for when we have that. We have profiles, but they're very light right now on the UX, but that's an opportunity for us to do that. So right now we raised a small venture round last year. It was very, very difficult because markets completely collapsed, but we did. And we have a little bit we work with partners as well. So that Aavegotchi one, we went to the DAO and did a proposal and they paid us some money to do that. And we have that with a few other partners. We've got an Optimism grant for building out a lot on Optimism. That was a builder's grant. That's relatively recent. That was pretty cool. Excited about that. And then like a lens content grant as well. So that one lens quest that's on there is just the start. We have a full onboarding quest for lens coming in the next couple of weeks, actually. We'll have it live for ETHCC this summer. So people with lens profiles can go do that, and it'll be kind of lens focused stuff.
Yeah, I like this also as like creators, collectors. I mean, this is what you're talking about with opening it up to anyone, but taking people through a journey of your content or through your the stuff you've created. I could see like thumbs up finance who writes articles that feature Pool Together sometimes in their newsletter, just doing the infinity keys like to gamify the content that you're already doing. Another thing that this reminds me of is I say capacha or captcha or whatever the captcha like
Hmm.
the it's basically Sybil prevention because like you have to do all these things that like no one's gonna potentially bot just because of how complex it would be, at least right now.
Yeah, it's hard to buy.
Yeah,
If you got to go into gotcha and you got to do a thing and then you got to come back now, so it's hard, which
yeah,
should mean it is, especially as users come back to crypto here and hopefully soon, is we're going to get this mass flood of attention, and we need to be able to sort out if we're doing airdrops, for example, or you're doing some sort of token distribution. Is it one guy with 500 airdrop farming accounts, because those exist and they're very real, and I can point you to all the platforms where you can get those guys in your Discord, and it's a hassle. But right now, like builders, we're flooded with those. If you do anything on Galaxy that's not super high, symbol protection, even if you do have super high symbol protection, you're just going to get a flood of bots in your Discord, and that sucks. I don't want to give those people tokens; they're just going to dump them, and that's not a community member. So that is part of the value, is like, let's get real people. That means less people. It means fewer people, because there's going to be less than 50,000 bots farming my content, but they're real people, and those are extremely valuable interactions. So yeah, that's what kind of like where the value comes from, is if we get real people doing actually engaging things, that's pretty cool. Crypto has this problem with bribery, right? If we give out tokens for everything,
yeah.
and that's not enough, right? People dump tokens, people leave, and people come for the money and then bail, and they don't learn about things. But we're adjacent to this entire industry, multi-billion dollar industry, gaming, that incentivizes people to do things, and not only gets people to do things, but people pay to do those things. People pay to spend thousands of hours hanging around in your metaverse instead of need to be bribed to hang around in your metaverse. And we can use some of the things from gaming. The sort of theory, the hypothesis of infinity keys is we can use gaming motivations to encourage people to do things alongside token emissions. Because if we just do token emissions, every project with a token knows, like, well, now you get people coming in, when airdrop, when this, when that. Well, no, play the game, interact, be part of the community. And there's a ton of room there to grow as an entire industry, in my opinion.
What other ideas do you have for infinity keys? Because I'm very intrigued of just the simplicity of like reading, looking at the image and solving the puzzle. But then I'm like, this is very like text adventure, and I don't know. I feel like I would love to. Yeah, just where is this going? I know you said like we have creators who can create your own quests, like a self-serve model. That's really great. I like that. I love projects using this as well.
The actual infra that is infinity keys is three things. It's three main things. It's gates. And gates are requirements. Do you want it to be a passcode? Do you want it to be an NFT? Do you want it to be something from an API, such as weather that I said before, or geolocation, for example? You have to be at a particular location. So that's coming, is whatever gate you want to be, you should be able to add in. And some of those will be harder than others. We got to figure kind of out how that fits into a UX and all that. But that's piece one. Piece two is ordering. How do you order the logic for these things and know that somebody's passed and here's where they go next and all that? That's just a core part of what we provide. And part three is, what do you get at the end? Okay, great, you've accomplished this game. What's your reward? And what we have is the structure. It's called a rewardable, and you can stick anything in a rewardable. You can stick the ability to mint an NFT. You can stick access to, I don't know, a special kind of pool or reward or something like that. And that could be whatever, right? So like, I've been talking about this for a very long time, because I love Pool Together so much. Is I don't want to just give out tokens as a reward. That's fine, but like, it's boring. That's not part of it. What I want to do is give somebody a delegated position in a Pool Together pool, a dedicated pool. And then you win, then you get some percentage of the delegation, right? Let's say we've got 100,000 tickets to delegate, and the first place person gets 30,000, second place person gets 10,000, and then everybody else after gets 1,000 or even 100 or even one down to the last. anything like that can be a rewardable. So there's a specific PoolTogether example, but we could do a ton of different things. Right? It can be as simple as an email. You get your email added to a list, or you get added to a whitelist, or you get permission to a specific channel in a Discord. But then we have this option for other treasures on chain as well. Or next steps to the clues, right? If you mint an NFT, actually, it turns out that that's a dynamic NFT, and on the next full moon, it changes, and it sends you to the next piece of the adventure. We've done that once on one of our quests. Is the treasure was an NFT that was a pager, and then midway through the last part of the adventure is the NFT updated, and the pager had a message on it that gave you the passcode to the next thing, and so you have to kind of go back and find that sort of thing. So as a creative person, it's just like, let's just build a thing where anybody can build a thing and stuff. And that's the idea. But where we are now is like, let's just get this to a format and a structure that is small enough that people can kind of grasp it and understand it, so that as we hit this, next cycle, people can really come in and say, okay, here's what people are using Web3 for. It's beyond crypto and token speculation. But here's something we can build using composable assets, and here's something I can do myself. And yeah, I can issue an NFT for free because somebody listened to my album or followed me on, TikTok or whatever it happens to be. Let's keep things simple, but give the option for people to make it complex. And what we've seen again and again is if you give people those tools in complex systems, then these really cool phenomena start to emerge. And that's what I'm excited for, is what will emerge when we give you guys the keys to the kingdom and it's not me. Oh man, I can't wait. I'm going to play your games. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to play your games.
That's right. That's right. And about PoolTogether, one of the things that with this new hyperstructure that's coming out in the end of July, where you can have any token and any yield source and use PoolTogether with it, so you can deposit whatever you want. And all of the yield goes into one prize pool per chain or layer. So you have all these vaults, and you could deposit however you want, and then prizes are distributed to those prize pools or to the vaults. But I was talking with Brendan about this, who's the CTO of PoolTogether Inc., and then starting Generation Software, his own company that will support the protocol moving forward. And we've been talking to communities, and it's like, what if you could deposit an NFT and be entered into the prize pool, or be entered into a vault? So that's actually pretty cool, because this whole delegation thing is really interesting, but there's a lot of like dynamism. There's a lot of like when you delegate to people, their status could change daily or by the minute, and so you want to make sure that with gas costs and stuff that the right people are delegated to. So it's an interesting nut to crack there, but yeah, I love that no loss prizes that you can if I like just the idea, if you're active, like if you're actually just doing and participating, then you're entered to win, right? And then maybe somebody who's really putting in the work gets more of a reward. That's great. So this reminds me of a community I interviewed for the podcast. It's the Eco community, ECO, and they had this like idea to do their own like token that was like a reward token. It was basically like they're trying not to like make it so much monetary value, but like more reward points. They wanted to be the reward points of Web3. But their community loved doing these like geotag kind of quest things. And so I like interviewed them on the podcast, and then a week later I get a DM, and they're like, from their community manager, and they're like, Tim, one of our teams is requesting to talk to you about going to Central Park for them and finding this thing. So I basically did it. I went to Central Park. It was like 9 p.m. and I'm in like this Shakespeare garden or something, and I'm like digging into a fence post, and I pull out this gold medal, and I was live discording, chatting with this person, with a couple of people, and they lost their minds.
But you found
like
it?
They were, I found it, but it took me like, I barely found it. My phone was running out of battery. I had a battery pack with me. I had to get somebody to bring me one. I had my flashlight, and I dug into this fence post, and it was just like a last ditch, like, if it's not here, I'm going home. And it found it. And one guy was like, guard that with your life. And I'm like, wait, really? Like, this is crypto. Maybe you mean that. I don't know why you mean that. But anyway, I bring that up to think about like the even IRL elements of this that could be there, especially for like ETH Denver or some event where the Infinity Keys. Have you done that yet?
Yes.
I'm not saying this is a novel idea, but
So
I'm just obviously.
So scavenger hunts are really interesting. I've learned a ton about them over the past year because everybody wants to do one. Everybody wants to have done one, but very few people have your actual story where they find the thing and will actually do it. So there's this really hard scale problem. So there's this great story about Meebits having this Easter egg scavenger hunt that came out, right, at the peak of 21 NFT season, and everybody latched onto it because it was hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of prizes because of the NFT value. But really, if you read between the lines of that story, two insanely nerdy people figured out this really hard code. And it turned into a good story, but the actual process of playing the game was two people. And I'm not making games for two people. So there's this design challenge when it comes to scavenger hunts of who are you building for? And so one of our artists on Infinity Keys, the Gotchi Dippity, he has made this puzzle for basically 80 people. And it's very small, and it's meant to be small. You buy his Gotchi Dippity art, which is reasonably priced on the fake Gotchi marketplace through the Avagachi NFTs. And then you go through this custom adventure. And at the end, there's one physical prize. Maybe there's two. But it is meant for a very niche audience. And so it's so perfect. It's really cute and it's clever and it's fun. It has been fun to do. And it's based in art. The problem with doing a startup is like, you got to figure out how to scale. And I can't build scavenger hunts for everybody. So we've done one of the coolest ones that we've done that are, close to this is at ETH Denver for Raid Brewed. Raid Brewed is the brewery offshoot of Raid Guild. You had to collect one of their beers and mint it as an NFT. And there's an NFT hidden under the spork.
I did this. I did this. Yes.
Well, so if you have it, go to the
Yes.
Infinity Keys and do the Raid Guild thing. And you should be able to pass through if it's the same wallet. So if you collected this thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was like, I'm going to get this. I'm probably going to Raid Brewed Keg. Okay.
Now people come and they play it and they want to play all the games and they get stuck on this one because you can't get the beers. You have to go get them at conference. So next March, whatever it is, then we'll pump it up again.
Okay, but there's like a puzzle, so I need to like go back and look. I took a picture of it, so maybe that there's a link. Oh my gosh, this is so great.
Yeah. Fun, right?
I did a thing that I was like, maybe this will be cool that I did this, and then now I'm actually finding the reward here live on the podcast.
This is the potential. This is what I'm shooting for. Is like, what is there in my wallet that I don't know is a key to something, and because that's what airdrop hunting feels like. That's you said. That's why you came back, and it's like, oh, I did this thing because it was just interesting, and now it turns out there's these cool connections to it. Let's build a world of that. Like there's so many platforms and places and projects that need attention and need users and need players. And you go and you experiment with some things and then, you check it out, you do PoolTogether for a week and then you bail, right? And these sorts of things. But let's make that mystery happen all over the place and let people kind of come to their own conclusions and find those experiences. And another IRL one, I'll give a little alpha. We'll probably, I think it's 90-ish% chance of doing at Rare Evo in Denver coming up this summer. We are working on one for ETHCC as well. If you will be in Paris, there may be an augmented reality portion of that as well. We're working on it. Something else. Oh, we did. What was this conference? It was some NFT Miami conference. I can't remember the name of it, but we buried one. We buried a treasure out in the beach, literally buried it, and people had to go find it, and they did. Yeah, we do stuff like that too. Like it's just fun to do those experiences with people. But we try to either make them like a one-off, a really special thing, like burying the treasure, or something that can scale. Like you buy those beers every year until they're out, right? Until Raid Brewed is done, and then you can claim some fun stuff.
That's really great. Okay, let's see here, Andy. What's the future of crypto? Where are we going? Where are we headed?
Well, we're going up, obviously, because that's where we're going. I just did a tweet thread, not knowing this podcast was coming, but I did a tweet thread today. So I'm going to show my own tweet thread right now. This isn't all of crypto, but this is a prediction for the next year and a half or so, is something that I'm calling game chains. And game chains are basically like app chains where there's a particular segment, a particular, vertical that is on one specific chain. Right now, all the chains are basically just general purpose, or they're one specific app, and those one specific app chains are not too widely used yet. But I think a chain that comes out that features a main game and that brings a bunch of smaller games along with it to have the main player base kind of have this network effect and gain players and rewards and secure the chain and do all these things. I think that will become really common and easy, because people will have to do less on the infrastructure side. Builders will have to do less on the infrastructure side, and you'll still be able to leverage a lot of the composability that you want. Like when I'm doing DeFi, like I have lending, and that is, I don't really want that touching my gaming. That is separate. I do not need my liquid staking to be part of my, access to my game items. I don't like that. I have kids. Like I have a mortgage. I have to be responsible. And so those things to me are very separate. But my gaming, it's really nice when all of those things can talk to each other. That's where we find that magic. So I think game chains are going to be something in the future, in the near future, that are going to be really powerful.
Well, this is similar. That's similar to app chains, right? As far as I understand it, I'm talking to Richard yesterday, who's a community member at PoolTogether, and yeah, he was talking about like how generally these monster dApps, these monster apps, could potentially have their own chains themselves, right? Part of like I don't know, like a optimistic roll up or something.
Yeah.
But that this is the game part of that, like game chains. Like I mean, Axie Infinity kind of has this with the Ronin, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Axie is a good example of this. I think Avagachi will be something to watch for that. I think they're ambling that way. But I think it's different than app chains because like let's say Aave does their own chain. I don't need Aave to connect with that much other stuff. Bridging, if there's secure bridging, right? We've got Chainlink, CCIP, it's going to be secure, it's going to work. Then that can be its own thing, and I don't need other things. But on a specific gaming chain, I think it'll make more sense to have a number of games in an ecosystem closer to like a Steam marketplace. You go to one place for your Steam games, you go to Xbox Live for all your Xbox games, you're going to go to whatever chain it is, game chain, for the games that you play. And I think some places have kind of done that out of necessity, like Immutable. There's no other way to get on or off that chain because it's not permissionless, basically, But we're going to see more of that, especially with permissionless type chains. That's my prediction for the future of games and crypto, at least near future.
Okay, I have a final question for you, but before I ask that question, do you have anything else that you wanted to talk about, address, announce before we wrap up?
Gasless on Infinity Keys is big. We are constantly working on the UX. We know everything with the UX. So if you're frustrated, just keep playing, hang out with us. You're early, baby. Like it's fun. Come have fun and think about what quests you would build and what you would make, and be part of the journey with us. Right now, we're still figuring out, like, if you claim keys with these quests that you do, what does that translate to in terms of future benefits? And it's still crypto. Like, we fully intend to do that. We don't know what that is yet, but collect keys. Play the games. If you find a major bug, report it. If you find a way to level up in the Discord and be part of the community, the more advanced community, do that. It's not hard. In fact, I'll tell you what to do. Go play the Society on Infinity Keys and send me a message. I'll send you the passcode if you can't figure it out. But there's ways to figure that one out. But that'll let you level up, and there's other collection games, and there's sorts of things that we're burying. Stick with us. That's kind of my alpha for the last thing. And I appreciate everyone coming and hanging out.
Yeah. Okay, here's my question. What happens if the Starbuckses of the world, the Sybil protection is just so necessary, and Infinity Keys is found to be the best way to identify humanity, and the world turns to you and is like, please help us with Sybil protection? Would you sell out? Is that selling out?
It depends on what you mean by...
I mean, like the way I thought this was a good question in my head. When I was like, oh, this is good.
The way Infinity Keys works is it will take a community of people deciding on what things are good and bad, good games and not such good games. And so, I'll sell out if it means a community of people is going to get together and build games for each other. And some of those games are going to be Starbucks games and Taylor Swift games and like all those big, like, sure, like that's fine. It doesn't need to be a niche set of things. If a community of people come together to make decisions about how to build good games given the system, our intent is to release the core Infinity Keys game engine as open source software. People should be able to build with this thing, and if it maintains the same spec that we have, then great. What do you have? More composable games, and it works better together. So Yeah, sure. Also, I don't see what the
That's what I'm
sellout
saying.
is. Yeah,
I'm just
in
saying,
this
like,
case.
getting rid of. I don't want to identify fire hydrants and bicycles anymore for like 30 minutes while I'm trying to get in to do the thing that I want to do. I just want to play some games, and then that already proved that I'm the person that I am and that I can do the things, and I'm not a bot. And yeah, so I'm just so pumped that even in this podcast, even in this, Andy, I get to claim my treasure for the Raid Brood thing, and it's like this full circle story that happened at East Denver,
It's beautiful.
and now today. So
But
even on this, I've won. Go for it.
let's give everybody a little Easter egg. So for the society puzzle, it's a reference to a book called Circe by Madeline Miller, and the answer is witches. So I'll just give you the answer. You can look up. It's a fantastic book, a great reference. And there's some other witch-like narrative across Infinity Keys, but you can type in witches in the passcode and claim the society NFT, and that will let you level up to level 1 in the Infinity Keys Discord if you wish to use guild. So
all right, so we got to do it. We got to join the Discord. We got to play some. We got to play some quests here on Infinity Keys. We even got a first quest. We got a first claim going. Thanks, Andy. And this has been awesome. I just really, I love the fact that you're reading Three Body Problem, that I won a prize, that you're making games and you're going to let me make games too. We're all questing together. And, we'll see each other at ECC. Some of these other quests together.
Quests together. There we go.
It just works, baby. It just works, baby. Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for joining us, and looking forward to questing together with PoolTogether and Infinity Keys in the near future.
Woo! Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks for having me on. Peace, dude.
Bye. Thanks for listening to the PoolTogether Community Podcast. You can visit PoolTogether.com to deposit, and we'd love to hear what you thought about today's episode. So visit the PoolTogether Discord and let us know.